What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Pot at That Palace post-game report card following Arkansas's 66-65 loss in an exhibition game, so it didn't count, but they still lost in the scoreboard to TCU. I'm Curtis Wilkerson, joined by Andrew Ellis. We were on hand at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth for this one. I would say for 28-ish minutes, I felt pretty good about what we were going to be able to talk about after this game. Some things to work on, some issues that maybe popped up that we had to address, some things with some players that we would be able to come in here and talk about after a win, because Arkansas was up by 13 with 1:48 left in the third quarter, and then it just kind of fell apart from there. Arkansas looked gassed, didn't execute well down the stretch. Looked like a team that has not only not been together long, but hasn't been practicing together because of injuries and everything. And they're not in game shape yet. That's not an excuse. That's just kind of what we saw out there, and they kind of let it collapse on them there late.
Well, I was proud of the kids. You got to give credit to a good TCU team that came in there and got the job done. But in all seriousness, Curtis, I honestly did not consider the possibility that Arkansas could lose that game up until about you said 28 minutes, which is when it went downhill. But really, even into the fourth quarter, until about the 3-minute mark, was about when I was like, oh, wait a minute, like they really they're a couple shots away from losing this game. You could tell that as much as things the air came out of the ball defensively for Arkansas, metaphorically, of course, bad term to use here in this basketball situation. Offensively, Arkansas really got stagnant, and they just ran out of gas completely. Weren't able to get any good looks down the stretch. Every now and then, someone would just happen to make a tough look, and it would kind of bail them out. I know Boogie Fland did his best down the stretch. They got some moments here and there. Some good moments from individual players throughout the game. There's everybody on this list that we're about to talk about, Curtis, had some moments where you were like, okay. Then there's also plenty to critique. Ultimately, it just felt like Arkansas didn't have enough down the stretch, and TCU had literally just enough.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so there you go. Lessons learned. I think it was good for Arkansas in an exhibition format to be tested with some late game scenarios. They did not pass that test today, but they will be better for it moving forward. They got a lot of good film to go back and review, and some stuff to work on there. So, but we talked about all that in the post game reaction show. For the report card, we player grades. That's what we do. We talk individual performances, and again, I say this before every time I do this, but this is not a I give one player an A and one player a B because I think player A played better than player B. That's not really how it works. It's not an individual comparison so much as it is taking a player and grading them based on their performance relative to what we expect from that player, their matchups in this particular game, and some of those other factors. So if I say that, Billy Richmond was better than Carter Knox or had a higher grade than Carter Knox, that doesn't mean I think he's a better player or anything like that. So it's important to understand that caveat, because people get in the comments and they go nuts about it. And it's like, no, we kind of explained it. It's not really what we're doing here. Let's get into it, man. We're just going to start at the top of the box score and work our way down. It's easiest to do that without, forgetting guys, because I've left people off before and been like, oh damn, I probably should have done that.
Go
so
edit in a clip of you being like, actually, Big C was not that bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't forget about the guy. Boogie Fland is the first one up here, and not as good as his performance against Kansas. I think that's fair to say.
Which is probably going to happen no matter what.
Yeah, because he was really good in that one. 11 points in this game. He was 4 of 9 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. So he is now 2 of 11 from 3 in the 2 exhibition games. Had a rebound, 5 assists, good. 3 turnovers, not as good. And 1 steal. He played 36 minutes in this game. I'm not really mad at Boogie Fland. I thought TCU did a really good job of being physical with him. They were kind of blowing up some of the ball screens that he was in. He was on his heels. Wasn't as assertive with his shot in the first half. Was maybe more so in the second half. Probably took some that, he would like to have him back. Not the best shots in terms of selection there. But overall, I don't know, man. I wasn't blown away with him like I was against Kansas. I wasn't super disappointed in him. I know he's got better basketball left to be played moving forward. I don't know, man. C+ is where I'm going to go with Boogie Fland.
It's exactly what I had in my brain, but only because, again, you're grading him on the expectation. He's on a negative curve here where you set the bar pretty high, but I still think ultimately the reason why you go C+ and not C- or even lower than that is because, one, he did some good things. I mean, I like the 5 assists. Don't love the 3 turnovers, although I don't remember there being any like particularly horrible ones. Only 1 steal, which surprised me. He had 6 last week, but I felt like he was very active. His deflections, he had a ton of deflections on defense, and he gambles a little bit on defense. But I didn't feel like he gambled negative, like where it like really cost them any too much on defense. I felt like he almost took an intentional step back. I mean, he took 1 shot attempt in the first half, finishes 4 for 9 from the field. Clearly, I mean, I felt like it was his way of almost letting some of his teammates try and have the performance that he had last week, which Adou Thiero took him up on that offer. And I felt like it was almost an intentional way for him to take a step back. If not, maybe that's just something that just happened. Whatever. I'm not going to look too much into it. But clearly in the second half, he tried to find his shot a little bit more, and it just felt like, and he made some nice shots down the stretch.
He did.
Hit a pull up 2, had some, was attacking the rim. I thought he did a pretty good job. But ultimately, just kind of Arkansas didn't have enough, not just from him, but from everyone else. And again, when you take into account what he did in game 1 and kind of the way he set the bar and the way that he really dominated in his first real collegiate action, I think C+ is fair enough.
Yeah, I think so too. And it is worth noting on him that, Arkansas was in a situation where they needed a closer, the ball in somebody's hands to get the final shot, kind of initiate things in the final possessions. It was him.
Yeah.
It was your freshman, and this is on a team that's got some other more experienced guards, but I think that's a testament to what they feel he's capable of doing and probably what he's shown behind closed doors. He's going to be a really good one for Arkansas. Not his best, not awful, C+. There you go. Adou Thiero, A. I don't give an A+ in in a loss. We only give A+ in wins around here, even if it's an exhibition game. But my God, how impressive. I mean, that was one of the more impressive individual performances I've seen, like, across the board, like in every spectrum of the game. We knew that Adou Thiero was a super explosive player, a gifted athlete, but man, it just really popped in this game. He had some posters. He had, the deal where he's blocking the shot with both hands above the freaking square on the backboard. Just nasty individual defense he was creating. He was knocking down jumpers. He did everything. He guarded point guards, he guarded centers, you name it. He did it. 20 points, 8 of 13 shooting, hit a 3. Good Lord, man. You just keep like 7 rebounds, 4 assists. He did have 3 turnovers, 4 blocks, 37 minutes. He was the best player on the floor, and it wasn't particularly close.
It wasn't. Curtis, I don't think the word dominant is an overreaction or an overstatement for the defensive effort he had, especially in that first half. Now, he and the rest of the Razorbacks, of course, ran out of gas a little bit. But I said on the postgame show, I felt like what they were asking him to do in the first half, defensively, he was literally all over the place. I mean, he had the 4 block shots, had the steal, but he was in passing lanes. He was out on the perimeter. He was in the lane. Everywhere on the floor, it just felt like he was cleaning up every mess Arkansas had. And he really got this offense going. Had some good looks in transition. And this is a dude who took 1 shot. It was a dunk. It was an awesome dunk. It was an awesome shot last week, but clearly took a little bit of a step back offensively. I don't think there are going to be many games this year where Adou Thiero has to set the tone for Arkansas offensively. At least that's just not what this team is designed to do and be like. And I don't think he's necessarily viewing it that way. But you could tell he kind of felt early like, hey, someone has to bring that energy. And he brought it on both sides of the floor, man. If Arkansas had won this game, which I still don't quite know how they did, it's a little puzzling how they managed to let that one slip away. But if they had won by 1, by 2, by 3, whatever, it would have been completely because of Adou Thiero's effort, especially in the first half.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know how they lost that game either. It was literally like Space Jam, man. Like the Monstars stole their powers, or at least their legs, because those things were gone.
Their will to win, they definitely took from them because they were checked out there down the stretch.
My goodness, yeah, and defend the pick and roll and all those things. But anyway, we talked about that. We're talking about players here. Okay, who's next on here?
Carter Knox.
You go first.
I was gonna say, you want me to go first on this one? Because I feel like I got a decent.
Okay.
So Carter Knox, we're just gonna keep talking about it. It'll be like mid-January, and we will be referencing that like 3 possession stretch that he had in the second quarter, where he hits the spot up 3 on the right wing, and we're like, oh beautiful. Man, and it was so confident, so decisive. He catches, boom, catch, shoot, get the ball up. The shot looked great. That's what you want to see from Carter Knox. I guess he went 1 for 3. I don't even remember the other 2 3-point attempts. I just remember the cool one.
Yeah,
it was awesome. He actually got a good look and missed it, and it was like, okay, it's fair. But also, I mean, in the next possession, gets the ball out on the left wing, pump fakes, takes about 2 dribbles, gets about to that elbow, pulls up and knocks down the 2. We know he can do that. I mean, you've referenced it so many times. He led the EYBL in scoring. What was it, like 3 straight years or something crazy like
Ridiculous,
that? Like, this guy can score from every level, and he's not going to be asked to be a ball dominant, like, hey, go get your shot all the time type of player for Arkansas, at least in his freshman year, especially early. I thought he did a really good job of playing within the flow of the offense. Only played 19 minutes. Also had the 2 blocks, 1 steal. He goes 2 of 5 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3. So, like, not a massive factor offensively, but again, that 2 and that 2 of 5 is the 2 that we will remember. I thought he did a pretty good job. He had 4 rebounds as well. Didn't turn the ball over, which I don't know if I believe that stat. I feel like I distinctly remember him turning the ball over at least once.
I thought
he had. I thought it was a really bad turnover, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Adou Thiero saved him from another one later. But anyways, didn't turn the ball over. Played 19 minutes. I don't know if I have much I can really knock him on. I'm not going to, be blown. We're not going to throw him a parade for having 5 points in 19 minutes. Curtis, I feel like B- is kind of, again, we're talking about what we're asking these guys to do.
Yes.
Carter Knox is not asked to do a ton, and I don't mean that as a knock on him. I mean, he's a freshman still finding his way.
Right.
And in that starting lineup in particular, he's clearly the youngest one, kind of the baby of the group. I thought he did a job. He did his job tonight. He was +9 in his minutes. I'm giving him a B, B-. I'm in that range there.
Yeah, I like B- there, and it's a perfect example. Do I think that Carter Knox was better or more impactful overall than Boogie Fland? Because I gave him a B- and Boogie a C+. No, not necessarily. But that's kind of the point. It's what we have relative to expectations. Now, I almost feel bad for that. I feel like I'm docking Knox for things that were out of his control. Because I was surprised that he did not play more than he did in the second half of this game, especially once he kind of started to get it going a little bit, and he was impactful on both ends. So that was a little bit interesting to me. I would like to see more of that. And I would like to see him get more shots up. I would have, especially in this game, once he kind of got on a heater. That's a guy where, he can really start rattling off some points for you. But I get it, and because you do have a lot of mouths to feed. So like everybody's got to kind of, they're going to get their turn, and it just wasn't Knox's turn tonight. So I'm disappointed because I thought for a minute there during that stretch, it was like, oh, hell yeah. Like we're getting ready to see it, man. And then that was just kind of it from the offensive standpoint, but that's not necessarily on him. So, I'm with you, man. B- on that one. DJ Wagner. Definitely not as good as he was against Kansas.
No.
But he had his moments. He struggled in some certain areas. So 6 points for DJ. He was 3 of 9 from the field. It was 0 of 3 from 3. And I only liked one of his 3-point attempts. I thought he kind of rushed a couple that just weren't really good looks for him. Those are not the ones that you want. You want the ones that are open, catch and shoot in rhythm. So there's that. Missed some things around the rim that I think he normally makes, frankly. And so wasn't getting those rolls there. I don't know if that was fatigue or just whatever. You just missed the shots. 2 rebounds, whatever. 2 assists. That's fine for him. Like to be at a little bit higher. 5 turnovers. That's not great.
Hard to justify the 5 turnovers.
And he was one of the guys, and we talked about it on the post game, who Arkansas did a pretty good job of getting the ball into the paint and collapsing the defense, but he was guilty of it at least twice, leaving his feet and having nowhere to go with it. And it would turn to a turnover, and sometimes points on the other end in transition. I have pretty high expectations for DJ personally, and while I did like some of the things that he did, I don't think that this can be something that Arkansas gets from him regularly, especially the turnovers. I'm actually going to go C-, I think, for DJ in this game.
You see, once again, you stole what I had written down. What I
did
like,
he?
I didn't.
Oh, I thought I was being harsh
when I say written down. No, I was going to go C-, and
Okay.
actually, I could actually be talked into D+ a little bit, Curtis.
Yeah,
again, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go C-.
Yeah.
And part of why I'm going C- and not the D+ is because, again, I don't believe Carter Knox has 0 turnovers. I don't believe his 5. I feel like they may have mixed up a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't remember him having the ball in his hands that much. But again, he had 2 or 3 plays there in the second half, in particular in that third quarter, where I was like, oh, okay. They're DJ starting, like we said, starting to maybe take over
Looked like
a little
he was
bit.
going to be that guy.
Hit a couple nice floaters. I felt like, we talk about running out of gas, and a lot of players on the team are guilty of this. And look, Arkansas's team conditioning definitely has to improve. DJ had a stretch, and it all kind of started with that play where he gets fouled and doesn't quite finish it. Almost had an and one there. Ball just rims out, misses both free throws, which I felt like was a huge, kind of let the air out of the Hog fans, or you get that little groan a little bit. And he followed that up with a couple really tough plays, gets scored on at the other end, had a really bad turnover where Johnell Davis was like wide open in the corner. And instead of just kind of getting that ball to him, he kind of has a weird pass that goes the other way. I remember that turnover specifically. And it just felt like it snowballed on him a little bit.
Yeah.
And it felt like he was coming on, and he was coming on. It's like, okay, Harry, he's in the game now. He's ready to roll. And he made a couple bad plays and never really locked back in.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of players on Arkansas's team were kind of guilty of that, especially in the fourth quarter, where it just seemed like the snowball got too big for him. It got too downhill. But yeah, DJ Wagner, again, we expect big things from DJ Wagner. Yeah. I still think he's a very much improved player from what he was as a freshman at Kentucky. He's going to have better days. Yeah. He'll shoot the ball better than a lot of these guys. Than a lot of guys in Arkansas will shoot better. I'm not like too worried overall, but it certainly was not a good DJ game.
Yeah, for sure. And the standard is not set at that Kansas game for me. Like, I think that's one of the better games he'll play, but this certainly ain't it either. So,
fall in between that.
Yeah,
there's a lot of room.
Let's find a nice middle ground, the gray area. Let's live there. I'm okay
Boogie
with
Fland,
that.
we'll even let you find some middle ground between your 11 and 24 or whatever it was. Like,
just 17.
Yeah,
it's fine,
it's fine, dude.
Big Z, big problems. Okay, he, and as good as he was against Kansas, and he was exactly that. And we praised him for it because, man, that's what he's capable of doing. Still has a lot of growth to make in certain areas of the game. The biggest knock on him at Kentucky was pick and roll defense and physicality, and TCU picked on him in both areas tonight. And it was rough, and it was evident. His stat line, 5 points. He was 2 of 8 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. One of those threes was just a bad decision to make late in the game.
Yeah.
Wasn't really open.
He was waiting to hit that dagger. He wanted to be the one to hit that dagger.
Did not need that shot there at all. Cal talked about it after the game. Missed some easy ones that he needs to make inside. He did have 8 rebounds. I think that was a little bit deceiving because there were just so many that he was just too slow to get there or got his hands on it and couldn't secure it. So a lot of that, I thought that he was impactful at times around the rim as a shot blocker.
Yeah.
On several occasions, which I was really impressed with. But man, if they get him in ball screen action, it was barbecue chicken. And some of that is, his teammates not rotating, like help sides not there. I get it, but it's been an issue with him. And it certainly was in this game. There were just times where I looked at you and I was like, they got to get him off the floor, man. Like they're playing him off of the floor. And most of the first half, until they kind of opened things up at the end, I was looking at you and I was like, I don't know that Arkansas is going to win this game if he has to play a ton of minutes. And it's not a knock on Big Z. I love him, but it was just not a good matchup for him in this one. D- is where I'm going for Z. And he had a spurt too, where he literally knocked a guy on his ass with a screen. I've been waiting to see an Arkansas player do that forever. He rolls, he dunks it, he blocks a shot, he grabs a rebound. I'm like, okay, I know you're not going to do that every single possession, but more of that and less of some of the bad that we saw. But that was just one of the few spurts there where I thought he was really engaged and locked in and impacting in a positive way in this one.
Yeah, that's what's weird. Is like that's where I'm going to go D, just because I don't want to agree with you on every single one.
Yeah, I feel you.
I'm going to be a little bit nicer. I also think, and I'm not even really going to do it, but I think there's an argument to be made that his teammates could have found him a little bit more. I mean, we talked about how John Calipari was literally telling Boogie, hey, lob it.
Very good point. That's
and
valid.
By the way, Curtis, this is not revisionist history. When Big Z set that screen, Curtis said, "Good screen." And then he comes and he gets open. I could tell that fired you up. I know you love that play.
That, yeah.
He had the 3 blocks here in this game.
Yeah.
Again, when Big Z is around the rim, pretty good. When he's got his feet set and he's not, chasing someone from behind, he's actually pretty good around the rim. I think he's going to have a lot of games this year when they play a little bit more of a half-court game against a lot of these teams that aren't just throwing them in ball screen after ball screen.
Drag him out from under that sucker. Whew.
I mean, yeah, but that's the thing is like if you're allowing him to just be around the rim, so he's 100% going to have some. Again, you talk about matchups, and this was just one where TCU found out where their matchup was, and they exploited him a good bit. But he's going to have games where he's a borderline dominant defender. I feel like there's going to be games where he's awesome. He's also, and what's disappointing to me about this performance is, we mentioned the threes he took, which he's going to make some threes here and there. Absolutely. I mean, he made a few last week, and he's going to stretch the floor on some teams and really be a difference maker in that regard. I just was a little frustrated that he wasn't able on the other end, because when they're exploiting you on one end, you'd think you would also have some type of mismatch with your size,
Yeah.
able to exploit some of that. And he just really wasn't able to. I felt like he openly shied away from contact multiple times, whether it was on a rebound, whether it was making a good contest and then not getting that rebound and not having the second jump. I felt like when he caught the ball anywhere near the rim, he really just had the one lob dunk, which I guess was one of his 2 field goals, the other being a banked in 3 to start the game.
Yeah.
I felt like he caught the ball within 5 feet of the basket 5 or 6 times, and it didn't lead to points except for just that one time when it was pretty much a wide open thing there. Yeah, I mean, Big Z is going to have better games. Again, we talk about the spectrum. He's not as good as he looked in that Kansas game. He's not as bad as he looked in this game. He'll probably be somewhere in between. And I do think it is going to be very matchup dependent. But the thing that gives me a little bit of hope, and I say hope, silver lining is I don't think he's going to be playing 25 minutes too much. And I'm actually surprised that he was only -6. I would have expected it to be worse.
Yeah, me too, for sure. And you're right. They're going to be Big Z games in terms of matchups, and they're going to be Jonas Adou games in terms of matchups. And this was 100% a Jonas Adou game.
Is there a matchup that's not a Jonas Adou game though? To be fair,
I
when
think
he's
if you
really
just
cooking,
like if you really need spacing, you know, like if you really feel like you have a big man who's an anchor on the interior, and it's like we got to drag this big dude out, force him out on the perimeter to try to defend the 3. That's about it though. But yeah, they definitely miss him. Or if you're just not securing defensive rebounds, you're not going to have that problem with Adou. But yeah, just I'm disappointed because I got really excited for him because it was awesome, man.
You said it earlier today. You said, I really hope Big Z doubles down. He did not double down.
No, he didn't double down. Damn it. Going to be ups and downs with him. He's an improved player from where he was, but certainly a lot to take away and learn from this one. Johnell Davis, I'm going to let you go first on this. I'll give the stat line here. 8 points for Johnell Davis in this game. Came off the bench again. He was 3 of 7 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, although some people are not satisfied with that. 7 rebounds in this game. Didn't realize he was on the glass like that. 2 assists.
A lot of long misses. They shot a lot of threes, and he got a lot of those long misses.
Turnover free in this game. -12 in 22 minutes.
Okay, I'm glad you said I get to go first because that was the first thing I was going to bring up is, listen, plus minus in basketball, a little bit of a polarizing stat. Like we always use it when it's to our advantage. Like when I want to push that Carter Knox agenda, I cite that he's +9 in 19 minutes, a great sample size there. His plus minus being at -12 is just not indicative of his performance in this game. Again, I didn't think this was like peak Johnell Davis NCAA tournament, ball dominant. Let's run the show here. I mean, I'm surprised he got 7 shots up, Curtis. He didn't have the ball in his hands that much, evidenced by the fact that he didn't turn the ball over. I believe he only had 1 assist, 2 assists. Again, just wasn't super involved in what Arkansas was doing offensively.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, Curtis, I thought he was more involved defensively. We mentioned the 7 rebounds, 6 of those came on the defensive end. And I felt like he was barking orders. He was rotating with guys out there on the perimeter.
He was.
I thought he did a pretty good job. I've actually been pretty pleased. He hasn't made like a ton of crazy plays defensively, but he's not a guy that teams are able to like point at and be like, hey, let's go score on that guy. I feel like he holds up pretty well. And again, 22 minutes, he's going to continue to play his way into shape. Offensively, he was kind of willing to defer to some of those guys. I felt like he was a little bit more aggressive in this. I guess it was right to start the second half. He got a couple good looks, knocked him down.
He checked 3 that he knocked down, and then he got an up and under shortly after.
He missed a layup like really bad, like where he just like banged off the backboard, and then it was like 2 possessions later he hit that pull up 3 in transition, where it was one of those like he had it in his mind. He's like, I'm got to make a shot. I'm going to make a shot right now. I'm just going to go ahead and take this one, and I love that. Johnell Davis is going to have some great days. We talked about being concerned. Like DJ Wagner had a rough game. Not concerned about him big picture. Big Z had a rough game. A little bit more concerned about him big picture.
Yeah.
I would not describe this as a rough game from Johnell Davis. I felt like he did okay with the opportunities he was given. I mean, what, B-? Like, I don't even know if that's like maybe a little too generous for a guy that was -12 in his minutes. I'll settle for C+ if we want, but I'll be honest with you, Curtis. What is anybody that was at the game? Because I know everybody, watched the box score and they're like, "Oh, Johnell Davis still hasn't gotten going." Like, I'm disappointed. But anybody that actually watched the game, what did you see out of Johnell Davis that you didn't like? And I'm gonna ask you that same question. Is there something you saw tonight that you weren't crazy about?
What I saw tonight that I wasn't crazy about with Johnell Davis was that he wasn't more involved. that doesn't mean that I'm disappointed in Johnell Davis.
Right.
And so it's interesting because coming into the season, one of the, I wouldn't say knocks, but like one of the questions that people had about Arkansas was, well, how is this backcourt going to work out? Like, how are DJ Wagner and Johnell Davis going to share the backcourt together? Because they both have to have the ball in their hands. Bullshit. Apparently they don't. I want Johnell Davis to have the ball in his hands more. And so I put that on the coaches, his teammates, because we literally, like, we were joking. It's like, man, they're kind of like, they're looking him off. You know,
DJ and Boogie were very content to just go back and forth.
Right. And I know, I'm sure that's not the case or anything like that, but that's the feel that it got. You cannot go more than 2 times down the floor without the ball touching Johnell Davis's hands at least once. He's that good. He's that much of a creator and a playmaker. And I know he's a little bit behind because of the injury in terms of, you know, getting acclimated and the chemistry and everything like that. But this dude is he's such a dynamic guard and a playmaker and a difference maker. I just want to see him involved more. I want to see him taking double-digit shots. When you have late clock situations, especially like whatever, Boogie Fland is so talented. Yeah, give him the ball and let him rock in those situations. DJ gets downhill with the best of them. He's experienced. Sure. But Nelly Davis is a Final Four guard. And just like if you've tried something the entire fourth quarter that hasn't worked, maybe just the number 1 transfer in the country and the most experienced and proven winner on your team, just give him the damn ball and let him rock. I would just like to see that. Like, let him create and make a play. And that doesn't mean it's always going to go well for him. He had 9 turnovers in the NCAA tournament against Northwestern. Now, he didn't make the best decisions there.
He made a really bad decision down the stretch in that game.
Exactly. But if something is broke, the whole thing is like, oh, if it's not broke, don't fix it. If something is broke, fix it. Try something else. And what they were doing down the stretch just wasn't working. And I was just shocked that he didn't touch the ball more in the final 2-3 minutes of that game. But I don't blame him for that, to your point. And so I think I'm with you. I'll go C+ just because, like, my expectations are sky high. I think he's going to be Arkansas's leading scorer. I think he's a potential All-American.
And we thought he was going to cook coming into this game. We thought he would be a little bit more involved, and we thought he was going to have that kind of coming out.
Exactly. He's going to get there. He's not there just yet. So hoping to see more. He just needs to see Lipscomb, man. Just get Lipscomb in there, bust him up a little bit. Yeah, exactly.
I will say, I saw a few people in our post-game chat that were like, well, you know, he's adjusting to the level of competition.
No,
he's
not.
That's not it. I was like, I don't really buy that at all. He's seen the best of the best. He's busted the best of the best ass also. I'm not worried about the level of competition. I'm more worried about him getting in shape and getting involved with his offense.
Yep. Yeah. 100%.
I'm glad we're on the same page on this because I can't believe we're in this position where it's like we got to convince people that Nelly Davis, who's been good at basketball his entire life, is now not good at basketball.
Yeah, and I wonder. I'm kind of interested in seeing him on ball more. I'm surprised that they haven't experimented with that. And I don't want to go on too deep of a tangent. We got a couple other guys to talk about, and like we got to drive back to Fayetteville in a few hours. So, but anyway, like I'm a little bit surprised we haven't seen more Nelly on ball initiating. If you think about it, and I know he's one of your better 3-point shooters, but he's actually really, really good off the bounce as a 3-point shooter. And Boogie Fland, who you need to be one of your best 3-point shooters. You're putting a lot on him as a point guard, and you need to. And I think he's handling that just fine. So, like, I'm not upset about that. But you also need him to be one of your better 3-point shooters. He's 2 of 11 or whatever we said, or 2 of 12, whatever the hell it is, through 2 games. Why not have him being the guy in the corner getting those catch and shoot looks? Let Nelly cook and create and get into the paint. His mid-range game is so lethal. I've seen him just destroy really good teams with that. He can really get into his bag in there, and he's a high IQ guy. He's a high assist guy. He hits cutters. He finds shooters. Mix it in. Like, if we're really going to do this thing where it's like, oh, we don't have point guards, man. We have playmakers. Like, you want to be the point guard, then get your nose in there and rebound. Well, he did 7 times. And how many times did he initiate the offense? None. So, like, I would like to see a little bit of that. There are ways to mix him in and get him involved without forcing it. And I felt like against Kansas, he almost felt that, and he tried to force some stuff, and it looked wonky, and he goes 2 of 9. I was like, I don't really like that. I didn't see as much of that in this game, which I like.
Probably would have liked to see him force it a little bit.
But yeah, like you want him to get more involved. You want him to have that alpha mentality because he is an alpha. And I don't want that to be taken away from him. He's not a damn role player. So I'd like to see him get going a little bit. Anybody that's frustrated from that standpoint, I get it. But the whole, his game's not going to translate, or he's not ready for this level. Stop that. That's crazy talk. Trevon Brazil. Okay. He had as many points as he did fouls, 6. which
in
was,
18 minutes is kind of tough to do.
yeah, 6 fouls in 18 minutes, no foul outs in this game, which is, I guess, good for him. But 6 points, 2 of 6 from the field. He knocked down a 3, split a pair of free throws. He wound up with 9 rebounds, which
that was the rebounding is the one area where I thought Trevon really showed up tonight. And he had a couple like emphatic ones.
I remember a
Defensively.
couple of times being like, "Good board, like there you
Yeah.
go, Trevon," which was good to see. A couple assists, whatever, a turnover, a block. It, it was
a whopping 0 plus minus, by the way.
Crazy, yeah. It was very it was like spurts for me. Like there are times where I was really happy with what I saw. Like I remember him, defending a guard. He was switched on Trezarian White, which is not an easy assignment. Kept him in front, contested the jumper, forced a miss. That was really good. I do remember his block. Like that was a big boy moment. Some of those boards that you mentioned, that was good. And there were other times where he was kind of getting babied in there. The Ernest Uday kid, that's just not, that physicality is just not going to be a thing that he thrives in. I don't know. I was here's the thing. It's tough for me to grade Trevon Brazil because I've known him and watched him for so long. Like back to when he was like a freshman in high school. Like my expectations for him, I think, are my personal expectations for Trevon Brazil are higher than I think pretty much everyone else's.
I will confirm. I will back you up on this, Curtis, because
Yeah.
I remember Trevon's freshman year. We were covering Arkansas, Missouri. This was the game that Arkansas beat them by 50 or whatever. And I remember you saying during pregame warm-ups, you were like, "Hey, this Brazil kid, I watched him in high school, super raw, but his upside is crazy. Like he's got potential." And at that point in time, I literally could not have cared less. I was like, "Why is Curtis talking to me about this random bum at Missouri? I do not care." But I remember you saying that, and that stuck with me. And then when Arkansas got him, you're like, "I'm telling you, he's got a lot of you always described him as raw, even dating back to then, which I guess you could still kind of describe him as raw.
Yeah.
But you always were a big
bad.
believer in the potential, and I mean, we've all seen the potential firsthand, the kind of positive impact he can have. But I guess, did you ever end up giving a grade? I was going to let you.
Well, I'm gonna go, and I don't know if this is fair or not. I mean, some people are like, F, and it's just people just have a kind of a vendetta towards him from some of the stuff from last year, and it's whatever. I'm gonna go C minus, and I feel like that's harsh, but I just
you keep stealing my grades.
Okay, well then maybe I'm not. Like maybe I'm getting better about what I should expect from him. I just, to me, I know that he spent a lot of time in the weight room, that they've been working on the attack dog thing. I'm not seeing as much of that as I hope to through these first 2 exhibitions. And like, there's still been some good. There's still been some of the, oh yeah, that's vintage Trevon Brazil in a good way, but then also in a bad way.
Yeah.
And I've heard so much, from people who've been watching them behind closed doors saying, "Hey, like he's a lot better, man.
Yeah.
Like he's really made strides." Well, I want to see that, and you see just brief flashes of it. You're like, "Oh, there it is," but then you see, some of the old habits, and it's like, like how much progress has he really made? It's going to be a consistency thing for him, but I expect more. I really do.
If I'm gonna get on Big Z for catching the ball deep and having good position and then not turning it into points, I felt like Trevon, if he did that once, he did that 5 times in this game. I think he had a couple attempts blocked, which maybe made him a little shy in there in the interior. But you would like to see him be a little bit more decisive, really assert his will. Felt like he got bailed out a little bit on that foul call. I even said to you, I was like, I don't think that was going in no matter what. But here's the thing.
I remember that. Yeah.
Here's the thing about Trevon. And I feel like, if it depends, you talked about what you expect out of him. And I think a lot of fans remember those Maui games from a couple years ago and just have crazy expectations for him. The thing with Trevon is he's always going to be a little bit dependent on the pieces around him, which is why he looked so bad last year, because it was just the worst possible fit. He was basically playing the 3. It was just a horrible role for him to be in. I think he's in a much better position to succeed on this year's team. But again, we're talking about a guy that doesn't create a ton of offense for himself. He's not going to take people off the bounce. He's not going to be posting people up. He's not going to be initiating offense as a ball handler in any way. So at the end of the day, a lot of his shot attempts are going to be lobs, spot up threes, guys kind of setting, maybe him cutting and playing well off of other guys, but it's going to be determined by his teammates a little bit. So offensively, I'm really not even worried about the 6 points, 2 of 6, like any of that really, because I feel like his offense is just designed to come within the flow.
Yeah.
And I think defensively, if there's a silver lining, we talked about Big Z and how much it sucks that you can just basically pull him away from the rim and he's completely useless defensively. I feel like Trevon is not that way. You mentioned the Trezarian White play. His one block came on a mid-range jumper that he just somehow got a hand on. It was pretty crazy. I feel like he might be the answer to some of the Big Z deficiencies in some matchups. Tonight, it didn't play out that way, but you could tell that was kind of what they were going for. Anytime they felt like Big Z the pace of the game was getting a little bit too fast for them, they would give the little more mobile guy in Trevon Brazil that run. But ultimately, again, we just watch all these guys play, and you're like, man, I just wish Jonas Adou were mixed in there, where he wasn't asked to play the 5 as much as he was tonight. And Adou Thiero, God bless him, did all he could to kind of cover everyone's lapses, but he just couldn't do it all. And I felt like Arkansas was just a piece short tonight. And I feel like Trevon, again, this is my very long-winded way of saying I agree with your C-.
Okay.
I might even go C just because it felt like an underwhelming performance with like 5 good moments mixed in. He hit the spot up 3. Cool. Actually, he went 1 for 3 from 3. I liked all 3 of the attempts. I thought they were within the flow of the offense, spot up situations, later in the shot clock. Like, none of them really bothered me. I thought his shot selection was fine. Just wanted him to be a little more decisive down there near the rim. The 9 rebounds I actually did really appreciate, especially in 18 minutes. That's a legitimate work on the boards. I mean, he's a big reason why Arkansas was able to actually win the rebounding battle. Again, defensively, fine. He was just kind of out there a lot of the time, but I thought he made a couple really nice plays. Like you said it, you see the flashes, but I don't think he's ever going to be the player that people kind of viewed him as coming out of Maui. Yeah. But on this team, he doesn't have to be. I think there's going to be a lot of games where you're giving him an A- in a game where he has like 8, 7, and 3 or something like that. I think there's still a lot of room for that. So I'm not selling my TV stock just yet, though he was a little underwhelming today.
Yeah. You know what I never want to see again? Catch on the wing, like a half-hearted little jab step, 2 dribbles middle, and then kick it out. That's the bag.
That's what.
And it's unreal to me,
what
man.
He's got,
like
man.
It's just, gosh, it drives me
nuts.
All
I got. You remember that meme was popping? This is all I got.
Come on, man. Like, just take one more dribble and jump hook or something, bro. But anyway, Billy Richmond, and I know you wanted to stump on this one, so I want to let you go first. But yeah, 2 of 4 in this game. He had 4 points, and he only played 9 minutes, and so
again a 0 in the plus minus.
A 0 in the plus minus, and we talk about Arkansas's 9-man rotation. Well, it's been 8 because Jonas Adou hasn't been in there yet. And really it's been 7.5 because you got 10 minutes out of Richmond in the Kansas game. You got 9 minutes out of him in this game. Although I will say, I noticed him more in this game against TCU for a wide array of reasons. I'll go with the buckets, which he had a nice basket cut finish, and then he had an alley-oop dunk that I'm pretty sure was already through the net before he.
Yeah, I thought that might have been basket interference.
Yeah, like it had to be, but whatever. Like, he got credit for it, so I'll give him that. But the floor is yours for Mr. Richmond.
I mean, look, it's just a classic. You know how, like, when a young player, like Russell Westbrook is a player I think of when I think of this. Like, if Russell Westbrook makes a 3, you can bet your ass he's going to, the next possession, take a stupider 3. Like, it's like he's earned the right to take a bad shot because he made one.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Richmond he went 2 for 4 in the field with 4 points. Those are pretty much the only stats. He did record 1 assist. No rebounds, no steals, no blocks, no turnovers, no nothing. No plus minus, no nothing. It just kind of was out there. He was getting some cardio. Had 2 really nice buckets within the flow of the offense, coming off of an assist.
Mm-hmm.
Nice little cut to get that layup, which is a nice feed from, I believe it was Fland who found him.
I think that's right.
It might have been Fland that found him both times, actually, in transition on the other. Nice kind of what if Billy Richmond is going to have success and he's going to play for this team. That's what it's going to be buckets like that. It's not going to be the one dribble pull up 3 with 27 seconds left on the shot clock, which he did decide to take one of those, which was fascinating. He took another pull up jumper that I believe was like an 18, 19 footer, like a lengthy 2 early in the shot clock. And it was like, again, they came directly after his made baskets where it was like, he's like, hey, I'm in the game. I'm cool. I got my layup. Now let me just pull up. Let me show him the bag a little bit. And I mean, like, we were sitting kind of near the bench. As soon as he took the pull up 3, Cal just kind of he was like, all right, the fun's over. Yeah, go get him, DJ. It was just kind of, it just was what it was. I'm all that to say, I'm giving him a C, Curtis. Yeah. 1, because the expectations, frankly, are not that high. I'm just gonna be honest with you, and that's not a knock on Billy, but I mean, he's kind of the guy that we feel like is one of those, everything you get from him is a bonus at this point in his development, which is fine. I mean, it's a very talented team. And I mean, you really don't need 12 guys to win a title or make a nice run or anything. The expectations are pretty low. So, going 4 points on 4 shots, I'll take it. I didn't think I didn't notice him on defense like at all, good or bad. So I don't have much to evaluate there. I feel like he was just a net 0.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think I'm right there because to me, I think you need Richmond to be your 9th man in a 9-man rotation, but like legitimately a 9th man. Like there has to be a role for him. And if that's, one legit rotation per half, then fine. And so if he's playing 10, 12 minutes a game, but giving you quality there and being a good defender, which was kind of his thing, was like, okay, if there's one area where he's ready right away, it would be defense. We just don't have enough of a sample size to know just yet. Like, I think he's super athletic. He moves really well.
Looks the part. Jeez.
Looks the part. I don't know about his physicality and everything, his technique and all that. I just haven't seen enough yet to really be able to evaluate that. The offense was going to be a work in progress, but transition around the rim, that's the stuff that you want. The long twos, the heat check jumpers, miss me with that, man. But no, I think I'm with you there too. C, I'm fine with it, and that's it because they played 8 guys. So
did it easy. We didn't even have to finagle a little Cash Chavis action where we're like, well, he played 3 minutes. What'd you think?
Yeah, man, no Cash Chavis, no Kareem Watkins, no Aiden Kelly in this game.
You remember what I said to you pregame? I was like, they got to get Kareem in the game.
Yeah, you did say that.
You might need him in SEC play. He started games at Kentucky last year. Come on.
That's right. Yeah, what the hell are we doing here? Okay, so Arkansas loses this exhibition, 66-65. They have a lot to work on, folks, but I don't think there's any need to panic. Here's the deal. If Arkansas, when they get into game shape, conditioning-wise, and when you get Jonas Adou back on the floor, and I'm not making excuses for him, because people will automatically say that, and that's why I keep saying I'm not doing that, because they didn't have those things tonight, and they freaking lost, and they should have won. There's no excuse for it. But I think those are easy factors. Like, you have your game legs, and you have your center, who's on schedule to be back Wednesday, and I think you're looking pretty good. You're feeling good about where you're at. For 28 minutes, I was really impressed with him, and then for 12, I was really, really unimpressed.
For 28 minutes.
Yeah.
For 28 minutes, maybe 29 minutes. We were one of the best teams in Fort Worth today.
That's right. And then for 12 minutes, you were not.
It got out of hand.
Fort Worth, by the way, interesting place. There is nothing around the arena. Nothing.
No, truly, it's like a ghost town, man. It was crazy. Shout out to Kingsley, our boy Kingsley, who, by the way, I haven't even told you this. There's ribs waiting for us in the lobby.
Is that right?
Yes, he left ribs for us at the hotel desk, which is awesome.
That's elite.
Really is awesome. But he also gave us a suggestion on where to eat, which was Taco Heads.
Yes.
And I figure why he picked it. It's the only place within like a mile over the arena. It was crazy.
We walked all over the place. We couldn't find anything. And so we were kind of like, what the hell are we getting ourselves into? You walk in Dickey's Arena, that place is amazing.
It looks first class, man.
Yeah.
Even with the curtains over the second level.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I like that you can walk around the court, like do a lap without being in the concourse. Like you can go down to the seating area. And we were in we were in such good seats. It was just double digits. Our section was double digits. So that's how good we were living tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of fun. Good trip. We enjoyed it. I'm coming back this way next weekend for Arkansas Baylor. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of the things that frustrate, I don't know if Arkansas is going to win that game. I don't know if they're ready for that just yet, but a lot of things that frustrated people tonight down the stretch of this game against TCU, they're going to be vastly improved. And I'm not worried about this team big picture at all. So, but we're out of here. We got to drive back to Fayetteville.
Yeah, we got to do another report card in about 15 hours.
Exactly. Good Lord. Yeah, we got to get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure you get subscribed. Inside Arkansas YouTube channel. Follow along. The podcast feeds are back for the Pod at the Palace, so make sure you're tapped into that. The post-game shows, the pre-game stuff, we put all that stuff on there. If you need to listen to podcasts instead of watch on YouTube, or you just don't want to see our faces, that's cool too. We get it. But just listen. We appreciate that too. We're out here. Thank you guys. For Andrew Ellis, been Curtis Wilkerson, Inside Arkansas, Pod at the Palace. See you guys later.